Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of With Conviction, a story of hope, horror, and history. My name is Rain, my pronouns are she, her, and I am your GM for this adventure. With me are my suitably prepared heroes for this campaign. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hi there, I'm Alice. I play Desdemona Hartwood. Both of us use she and they pronouns. Desdemona is a Rose Heart guardian, and she's sort of a gothy, punky, magical girl with a heart of pink who is immune both to all damage and experience. So, uh,
Oh no.
so it goes.
Hi, I'm Skylin. My pronouns are they and them, and I play Chris Whitlock, whose pronouns are she or any. Chris is our extremely sporty, magical not a girl, and our firebrand artillery.
And I'm Rob. My pronouns are he, him, and I play Eliza, whose pronouns are she, her. Eliza is our fiery, stalwart soul warrior magical girl. And in the spirit of being suitably prepared, she has bought a sort of holster like sheath, not quite a sheath setup, but something to keep the sword attached to her.
Which is important because the last time you took an unsecured sword into the Grey, they tried to steal it. Since then, you had some conversations. You invited Hazel to help you out and began work on a sword that it's not too far from being ready. So that once it is, she can come with you into the Grey. And you had spent some time making amends, rebuilding bridges, and just generally recovering and getting ready for the next fight.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Is it November now, or are we into December?
Given how long it would take to make this sword, I would say somewhere between late November and early December.
Despite the falling temperatures, Eliza has not added a coat or anything to her getup.
So before we go in, Chris has 2 XP that I would like to spend.
Okay.
I would like to pick up Reify, which reads, understanding your foe is the first step to defeating them. As long as you have at least one conviction, you learn a target's stress and conviction when you fight them.
Seems useful.
I like to imagine that Chris spent a lot of time, well, whatever was left whenever she wasn't in the forge, she spent time watching all of the sparring that was happening and the training for Hazel.
That makes sense.
I just have a question, and this isn't directly related to the delve we're about to do. Has Tesserae brought up to Eliza that she got attacked by a monster?
She is not.
Huh. I'll have to deal with that at some
Desiree
point.
is so cool.
Okay. So, what would you all like to do?
Sounds like we're delving.
Yeah.
All right. The world opens once more. You step into the Grey, and you find your way to the encampment.
I think on the way to the encampment, Eliza has gone through her transformation.
That makes sense. Anyone who wishes to transform may roll so.
Okay.
Eliza rolls a. Hope that was a cock die. Eliza rolls an 8.
All right. Yeah, it
Oh
does.
boy.
Nika!
Oh.
Starting off strong.
Chris rolls a 9.
All right. Shift as you may.
The fire coming off of Eliza's sword is a soft yellow today.
Very nice.
Chris will be at 1 darkness.
There's more people in the camp today than you've seen before. There's a few more cannons. There's more powder. They seem to have been going out of their way to collect powder. They seem to have taken the idea from you. The camp seems busy.
Are we talking to Tilly?
We could check in with her. I assume she's as easy to find as always.
Indeed, there's always people who need help. There seem to be less right now, but she is the ones who are in a bit longer term recovery she seems to be caring for.
Are things different today? Eliza says as she walks into the tent.
She looks up. Oh, you're back.
Mhm.
The general wanted to be ready to attack when you returned.
We're going on the offensive, are we?
Well, with you here, we finally have a chance.
I think it's best that we speak to the general then.
It's not too hard to find him. He's not actually in his tent this time, but he is talking to some of his officers outside. They're all scanning the horizon.
Minor question, are there any horses around?
That aren't weird wyverns, I assume.
I think the general has a horse, but you don't see any others.
Eliza keeps a notable distance between herself and the horse. Like 8 feet or so. Minimum.
I want you to know that that's realistically not far enough to be able to run away if a horse
Yeah.
decides to charge you.
Uh-huh. Eliza doesn't, though. But anyway. So, who wants to handle talking to the general?
He looks up. It's good to have you back.
I see you've made some plans.
Good, we need a game plan.
Well, I think we might have enough powder for a mine now. Do you have a plan for bait?
Eliza taps the sword hanging on her hip. He really wants this back.
And you think you can handle it?
Yeah.
Good. Once the rider appears, we will set off the mine and we'll start putting in fire from both sides. We're going to rely on you to keep him occupied and off of us.
Of course. Have we picked a place for the mine?
Yes, we're installing it a few miles from here.
All right. I want to see the position first, just so we're ready.
He gestures to his horse. Would you like a ride?
Eliza looks at it, and I think the general can. He's probably at least dealt with city people enough that he knows the look of I have no idea how to ride that thing. And she gives a bad version of that, and then turns away and her wings unfold. Just, I'll be fine.
And he saddles up, and a couple of the others sort of fall in and start following as he leads you to the mine.
While Eliza is walking with the general, Chris turns to Desdemona. A mine is a good start. Last time we fought that thing, we got real beat up. We might need something more.
Oh, here's a quick question. Are you all on the phone with Faith and Hazel?
Oh, that is a good question.
I
Ooh,
think so. I think that's become standard procedure by now.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. They're just listening to this.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea to have some like as many backups in place as possible. Did you have something in mind?
Well, you are really good at protecting people, and the general just said that we need to keep the rider off of the troops. Do you think we can do something like my scatter shot and come up with something that you can do?
We can try. Well, something to like either give us a chance to escape or lock someone down?
Is that video game lingo?
I didn't think so.
Chris just kind of looks confused. Okay. Um, yes?
Okay. Um, maybe we can test some stuff while they're all getting set up.
Yeah. She looks away and thinks for a moment. You know, glass is made of sand. let me try something. And she goes and sits and creates a handful of softballs. And she's going to spend a little bit of time practicing turning these stones into sand.
Okay. I won't make you roll for that.
Okay.
While this is going on, Eliza, you're looking at this field. You see unnamed men busy. It is a similar field to the dozens you've seen before. It is scarred and warped, and tendrils writhe through the dirt, and you can see a man cut down with a shovel and cut one of these things off and scoop it up and throw it off to the side as they're digging a large hole. And you can see more men removing bags of powder from caissons and putting them into the hole. And the tower looms in the distance. It's closer than the last time you were here. It's much closer. This is probably one of the most aggressive positions that you've seen these soldiers take to this point. And at the very top of that tower, you can see the portal swirling.
Eliza has read a decent amount of Civil War stuff and picked up a small amount of military knowledge. One thing that she's checking on is the positions they've got laid out for the soldiers. Do they have any cannons in place here as well?
It doesn't look like any cannons have arrived, but if you ask, the general will confirm that they have saved a small amount of powder to charge the cannons with, and they are on their way. The positions that the men are taking are tree lines to the left and right of this open field. It looks like they want to turn it into a killing ground.
With this position, any shots that miss our own soldiers will go past and hit other soldiers on our side. Wouldn't an L shape be better?
He thinks it through, and I think he eventually agrees.
Other than that, your positions seem well laid out. And the mine will work. I'll trust that your engineers have dug it properly. So, I believe we have a solid chance.
You hear faith in your ear. Go team!
She does her best not to react to that, because explaining to the general that she hears voices as an angel might be a bit much.
So, Chris, how's that going?
The first few balls that Chris produces and tries to crumble into sand don't quite work. It's more like shards of rock that come off of her during her transformation. They shatter into pieces, but not quite sand. And it's maybe on the 20th of 50 balls that she's produced that she finally gets it. And once she gets it, she does it again and again and again and again. Once she feels like she has the handle of that, she turns toward the earth as a whole and tries to see if she can make a line of sand out of the stone and dirt that's in the ground. This takes some time, but I'd like to think she gets there.
I think she does.
Des, do you have any control over sand? Or is it just glass?
I'm pretty sure it's just glass. Hold on. She extends her hands toward all the sand that's been created and kicked up and attempts to move the sand. And nothing happens.
Okay. If that's not working, then we need to make this sand into glass. I'm not quite sure what I'm going for here. I'm really just trying to give you something that's big.
I getcha.
I'm kind of running on instinct here.
If we could make a lot of sand and then turn it into glass, maybe I could do something with that.
Eliza,
Yeah?
come make glass for me.
Okay, also, you don't need to shout. We're on the phone. And Eliza
Are we
comes.
all really actually on the phone, or is it just Eliza with the earbuds still?
I don't know. Are you in a group call?
Have you picked up earbuds yet?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. Eliza comes flying back after a minute. Oh, you've made sand.
Do your fire thing.
Oh!
Yeah. See what you can do. What do you think of this?
Eliza looks at it for a moment, and then she jumps into the air, and as she does, she kind of turns so that her back is pointing towards the ground with her legs in the air in front of her. She's riding her jets along this line, pointing all of them towards the ground and towards this line of sand that she rides along, and hoping to turn it into glass with the heat of her rockets.
Yeah, I think I certainly think that could work.
Okay. So, what are you thinking? Making some sort of wall in the middle of a fight?
Now that's an idea.
Yeah, because then. Ooh, I like this.
I was just kind of going on instinct, but I like that idea a lot. That sounds like a plan, not just throwing something at the wall.
Seeing what sticks.
Maybe it's the glass.
Looks like. And I get the sense we're about to have a chance to try it out.
Is that comment prompted by the way the sky darkens? You see the spire begin to swarm, and the cloud begins to move toward you. There is a winged figure at its head. It gets closer and closer. The mine is covered, almost not in time. It's a sloppy job. There is very clearly moved earth here. And the rider lands. He dismounts. Well, I was afraid you'd run away.
Yeah, well, we kind of figured we'd go home, relax a little bit, and kick your ass on our own terms. When it was convenient for us.
Hey, before we start talking like that, hey, Ryder guy, why are we fighting? I get that we're kind of upset because your minions stole our friends' memories and all, but do we need to be fighting? What's your goal here?
Oh, I suppose I never explained myself. How terribly rude. It's quite simple. The world is broken, and it needs to be destroyed. Once I leave here, he spreads his arms. I will finally have the power I need to do that. And why do you fight, little metal girl?
Honestly? Because the world isn't broken. I'll be fair with you, it sucks out there. And the wrong people have all the power. But there's things worth fighting for out there, too. And you've been in here for what, 160 years?
He frowns and disregards that comment.
You are so out of touch, aren't you? What, are you still fighting for the Confederacy? Was that your original goal?
That was how it began, perhaps, but I've seen the truth.
You want to know what happened?
I don't particularly care.
Oh, I'll tell you anyway. General Grant crushed your little rebellion. It was pathetic. It is studied in histories as an example of absolute terrible uprising. You never had a chance in the first place. And that's all you're bringing to this? Like, sure, you've got some loftier goal, but you haven't learned anything, have you? You've been stuck in here for 160 years. It's kind of pathetic, honestly, that this is all you've got. And you haven't even managed to wipe out the soldiers that were in here with you. This is nothing.
And what do you have? A few hundred soldiers? The three of you? Because I have an army. And he lifts his hands, and out of the dark sky, monsters begin to descend. Hulking beasts, lean things with muskets, things with flags and skittering brambles. It is an army on wings.
As the rider looks up and gestures to the sky, Chris dashes past him and is going to take the first shot. I would like to take that as Chris's darkness shift trigger of act without planning.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, where are you moving and what are you doing?
Why don't you lay out the zones for us?
There are 4 zones in this fight. The left tree line, the right tree line, and the rear tree line, and the open field. The rear tree line and the left tree line have soldiers in them. Dug in, they've hidden against trees, they've dug in trenches. To one side of them, there are cannons between the 2 points of the L. They are waiting for you to fire. The general is with them. The right tree line is empty. The open field currently has all of you and the rider and a number of monsters. More descend from the sky, but the first ones you can see are 3 of the ones with the rifles. 2 large things that look not unlike the wyvern beast that he rides. 2 that are carrying flags, and more than you can count of the small skittering brambles.
Are there any zones that we cannot get to from any other zone?
The only 2 that you cannot get to from each other are the left and right tree lines. You would need to pass through either the rear tree line or the open field to get to them.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So where are you moving and what are you doing?
Chris is moving from the open field to the rear tree line for the time being.
All right. You join the men in their trench.
And she's gonna take her best shot.
At
The rider.
understood.
Fair.
That's a 4 on the dice. +2 for place is 6. I'm gonna go ahead and burn flare
Mm-hmm.
to bring it up to an 8.
All right. He lifts his hand to deflect, and you hear a crack as it strikes his gauntlet, and he kind of recoils as it hits harder than he expected it to, as your light powers that shot. Let's get started then. He's going to rush forward and drive a fist towards Eliza.
Right.
That said, he does not connect. You're able to dance out of the way as he rolls a 4.
I think she probably drives drives her blade into his gauntlets to push it away.
All right. So whose turn is it?
Probably mine.
I think so.
I think I think overall it's most beneficial for me to be in the same zone as Chris using Goad.
All right.
Des is going to dash over to the same zone, and I'm going to roll to protect myself. That is a 4.
Ooh.
And Endure, I believe, brings it to a
A 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you feel like you are trying to protect, but that the light is starting to jitter, the light is starting to fade.
Is there a downside to failing a protect roll other than it not working?
Normally, if you're protecting someone else, the effect is redirected to you.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you're just protecting yourself, there's no downside?
Mhm.
Okay.
Eliza, he stalks towards you again. He's grinning fiercely. The dark swirls around him. You can feel it respond to his presence in the earth, in the trees, in the air. He is staring at you. The world is staring at you. The wound in the sky is not an eye staring at you. It's not an eye. It's not. It's not. And he is going to attempt to grab hold of your sword arm and again drive a fist into your face.
All right.
He rolls a 7, which means you take 2 stress.
Yeah, okay. So Eliza takes that punch, and then she just looks up at him and wrenches out of his grip with her arm, and she's just stepping back, golden fire emitting from her jets as they're staying basically at ready. And she just says, think about it for a moment. Think what Napoleon would have thought of trains and rifled artillery, and he was less than 50 years dead when you were trapped in here. 160 years have passed. Your plan to destroy this world? You don't have the force for it. Us, the three of us, we're here because we're what can be spared. Your endgame is pointless, and she is trying to sway him.
Okay.
Oh,
All right, that's a 7 plus 1 is 8 because Silver Tongue.
Interesting.
She's
All right.
currently at 1 light, so
He hesitates. And then a cruel smile twists across his lips.
and Eliza jumps into the air, and she is going to jet over to where Chris and Des are.
Hey, GM.
All right. Mm-hmm.
I have fought the rider. Could I know his stress and conviction, please?
Ah, yes.
At the time that you did so, he had 14 stress and 4 darkness.
okay.
And at this point, you see one of the ones with a flag point and shout at Dez. Oh, okay, we'll take that. With a 10, it does not have to spend a point of conviction to use Impel, as tendrils of darkness in the ground lurch upward, wrap around you, pull you down into the dirt, and you find yourself in the right side tree line.
Ooh,
Oh.
it like slurps me through the.
Yes.
Cool. Alrighty, no problem.
Whose turn is it?
It's top of the round.
Ah,
Is it top of the round?
so it is. It is the top of the round, and there is thunder. The open field disappears in smoke and fury as the ground itself lurches upwards and explodes. Bits of shadow and dirt and ichor and chitin are just fountained into the air, and there is nothing but smoke for a moment. and then it begins to fall like a grisly rain through the trees onto the ground all around you. You can see so many of these things are gone. Both of the wyverns are gone. Some of the musketmen are gone. There are so many of the brambles are gone, and the rider staggers and grins like a wolf.
Eliza is just shaking her head, trying to clear the ringing in her ears.
So it's kind of like almost like a volcano erupted, but for just like a moment.
Yes, replace the open field zone with the crater.
Got it.
Cool.
This zone is now rough terrain, which means that any movement into or out of it is slowed. It will not take effect until the beginning of your next turn.
Even if we can fly?
I will accept movement from the sky into the crater.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Who's going first?
I think that Chris should go, actually. Tactically speaking, we want to see how much stress just got dealt to him.
Okay. Can Chris still see the rider to fight him from where she's
That's
at?
a good question, because this is just a massive plume of smoke. That's a good question. I will say that you see something you think could be him. You can attack, but it will be hesitating. We'll say all the shots into or out of this crater right now for this round, while the smoke is still settling, will be hesitating.
Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and go for it. God. That is a 5 plus 2 is 7. Minus 1 is 6.
Oof.
But
But
I fought him, so now I get to learn what his conviction and stress are anyway.
He is currently at 10 stress and darkness 3.
Because I don't have to successfully fight to get to be able to use Reify. It's just fight. But Chris is off balance now? Yes.
There is a crack as one of the musketmen takes a shot out at you.
does it have any penalties for us being in a trench?
It has a penalty from firing out of the crater,
Okay.
but it's not quite enough because that penalty brings it down to an 8.
Ooh.
Okay.
And that is going to strike. Eliza, you were in the open field, right?
No, Eliza jetted over to the to next to Chris in the trench.
Okay. That will deal 2 stress to Eliza.
Okay. Ouch.
That shooter is going to try to climb out of the crater into the right side tree line. Whose turn is it?
I think Eliza is going to go next.
Mhm.
And one of her wings is sparkling and jets running just uneven thrust of fire as she streaks into the air. She's moving into the sky zone. And
Alright.
she just calls out with her voice echoing in golden fire. You see that? That was nothing by modern standards. You are hopeless. Swaying again at the rider.
Alright.
Does the -1 apply for swaying?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. He might not be able to hear me. His ears are ringing. Okay, well that's an 8 plus 1 minus 1 is 8.
Indeed.
Swayed 1 towards light.
And you hear him growl.
All right.
There's another shot at Eliza.
These things don't like me, but I guess I am right up in the air.
That's a 13 total.
Ooh. How much damage from this one?
4.
4 stress?
You take 4 stress. Piercing. On a complete success on a fight roll, the hunter deals twice its harm.
Okay. Eliza just, I think we see this bullet go entirely through her torso. There's an entrance wound and an exit wound, and for a moment we see blood just dripping down into the crater as she hovers there. And then the soft yellow fire that she's been running darkens. It runs through orange, blue, indigo, and purple as she is using the Stalwart Soul ability Endure to repress the pain and convert the stress she would have taken into darkness.
God damn.
I think she looks down into that pit with this sudden turn to purple, and she just says to everyone down there, "You can't kill a phoenix."
Beautiful. So,
It's my turn.
I believe it is.
So first step is she takes off and goes into the flying zone, and she's also going to yell down for a sway roll. She goes, "Ryder, you talk a lot of big game, and no one's even touched me yet, and you're gonna take over the world? You can't kill a little girl."
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, dice. That is a 6 total.
You hear his laughter as he pulls himself up, and you see him straighten up as the dust begins to settle, and he cracks his knuckles and begins to stride up out of the crater directly toward Chris. And he looks up at you and says, "Oh, you misunderstand. I don't have to win. It sounds like your world has become beautiful at destroying." And he's going to sway Eliza.
Oh,
Interesting.
He fails, actually.
All right.
What is your conviction at?
It is now at 3 darkness.
He moves back to darkness 3.
Hey!
That's how that works. That's the mechanic.
It's the top of the round. There is another fusillade of fire as the soldiers begin to shoot and brambles are torn apart. But there's just more that keep coming. Who's going first?
I want to do something.
Yes.
Eliza's going to, from where, because the writer just walked into Chris's zone, right?
Yes.
All right. Eliza is going to streak down on a flare of purple fire, her wings sparking, and she's going for a fight roll as she lands in front of Chris, between him and the writer. Can doing that cover the darkness trigger, put yourself in harm's way to protect others?
I think so, yes.
Eliza moves into 4 darkness as the fire turns black.
I would like you to... I want to resolve the fight and then the shift trigger, if that's okay.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So Eliza lands there, and she's just going for a fight roll.
Mm-hmm.
And she rolls a 9 plus 2 is 11.
All right.
So that'll be 5 stress.
All right.
And then we get a flash of light as her leg warmer and her Doc Marten suddenly just... It's sort of the same glow that her wings and her sword appear in, And in a moment, actually, both of her leg warmers and her Doc Martens have just combined into this boot, and a rocket thruster ignites on the back of it, and she kicks the rider in the stomach, and he goes flying as she uses the storm ability to launch him back into the crater.
He was still in the crater. He hadn't got there yet.
Can that reset his movement then?
I'll accept that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, kicks him back down into the crater.
All right. He tumbles, rolls, lands, and reaches out a hand toward you. He is going to use draw.
Mhm.
And with a 7, those tendrils of darkness reach out of the ground and pull you toward him. And you are now in the crater as well. And he is going to strike twice more.
It can do that and attack. Okay.
Yes, he can. And both of those are hits with a 7 and a 12.
Oh.
You take 2 harm from one hit and then 2 harm from the second hit.
That's bad. Because, yeah, Eliza was already at 4 stress. Out of 7.
Mm-hmm. He hammers you. And he hammers you. And he hammers you. And he hammers you. And he does not stop. Your wings break. Your leg warmers break. You are bruised. You are beginning to bleed. You hear a crack as bones start to break, and he does not stop as he just laughs. Where is all your bravado now? On the other end of the phone, you can hear Faith. Eliza? Eliza, what's going on?
Eliza doesn't answer for the moment. I think she's probably fallen to her knees at this point.
Chris answers. The captain's got this.
And then Hazel responds, prove it to me.
Des lands next to Eliza, puts a hand on her back, and looks up at the rider, and goes, "Bravado! Again, still perfectly fine. She gonna be perfectly fine when we kill you." And she's gonna go for another sway.
Okay.
So infuriating. Another 6.
Oof.
No.
Okay. Des, what is your conviction?
That 3 light.
All right. As he is at 3 darkness, you shift to 2 light.
That's not true. I cannot be. My conviction is never moved by failing a sway roll.
Frickin' Rosar.
You made the game.
I was gonna say you made the game.
There is another crack as one of the riflemen takes a shot at Chris. Ugh. And that is a 9 plus 3 is a 12. So Chris takes 4 stress.
No, she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That shot tears into the same shoulder that was shot last time this happened. She doesn't remember this, but her body does. It twists and burns. And as it does, the conviction shifts from 2 darkness to 2 light.
Beautiful.
That was what I was waiting for.
So I think you're the only one who hasn't gone yet this round.
Yep. She calls out to the rider. Hey, bitch. last time we met, wasn't on great terms. But, why don't we go on a date? You and me can talk about what this, new world might look like. Chris would like to sway him,
Okay.
and I'd like to roll charm.
The weirdest damn sway roll we've had.
Okay.
This is Chris we're talking about here.
I guess.
Well, that is a 6 and a 5 on the dice.
Ooh.
Plus 1 is 12.
Yeah. He'll look up and go, I'm so glad you're amenable to reason. Why don't you come down here and we'll talk? And what do I want to do for the end of the round? There's going to be another shot at Chris. And that is a 7 total.
Okay.
Actually, that's an 8 total. I'm bad at math. So you take 2 stress.
Okay.
Eliza,
Hello.
are you helping anyone?
To me!
Yeah, I think it has to be part of what's about to happen.
As in, is it cool if
Yeah, we
Eliza
actually need to talk
helps
about this.
in a second here rather than at the top of the round, or does it have to be the top of the round?
I am letting Eliza designate who she wants to help at the top of the round, and then that will kick in whenever that person takes their turn. I
Okay.
think I see where you're going with this, and while it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for her to be able to commit to a team action, I will give me a pitch for how Eliza will help with a team action if that's what you want to do.
I think without her access to her fire, since she is down and cut off from her abilities for the moment, it's going to have to be powder. And Chris is in the trench near the soldiers and where they've got the cannons. There will be a cannon charge there. She can grab that and use that as the core of Shattershot.
What is Eliza doing to help? That's what you're pitching me on.
I mean, she's getting the
Eliza is going to get the powder.
yes.
I am flexing the rules of the game to allow this because I want to see this happen.
Okay, thank you.
So that is going to be your help action.
Okay.
Who's going first?
What do you think, Skylin?
I think we need to be able to all be in the same zone so that we can set up the shot.
Okay, then is the plan pick up Eliza and get into the flying
Actually,
zone to start with?
if you move, if you are the one moving Eliza, I'm actually way more chill with this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was the plan. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just Eliza scrambling across the battlefield. It's
No.
yeah. I'm committing to helping out. So then, Des is already there. She puts her arms under Eliza's armpits and takes off with Eliza in tow. Okay, so where were we before? Do I need to go to the flying zone first, or can I just make a beeline straight for Chris?
If
Yeah,
you're
they're-
moving to Chris, then you are going to be affected by the crater's slowed effect, which means your move will fully take effect at the beginning of your next turn.
Okay.
Either
then
way,
I'm-
you won't get there until the beginning of the next turn. You may as well fly up so that the rider can't punch us because he can't
That's
fly.
exactly what I was just gonna say. Yeah. So Des is gonna get into the sky. Would you say that that's my turn? Is picking up Eliza and getting into the sky?
I think so. Yeah.
Can she protect while doing that?
Yeah. I definitely think so.
Good.
Protect yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll roll a protect roll. I'll get the shield hovering in front of me while I am holding Eliza. That is a 9 total.
All right. That is a partial success, which means I believe you take 1 less one less stress from any given source?
Yes. So while I'm protecting myself and while guild is active, I take 2 less stress from all sources.
The crater boils, the sky writhes as these monsters begin to pour out of the earth, pour out of the sky. Everything around you seems to be alive with them as they surge like a wave out of the crater towards the soldiers and start tearing into them. You can hear screaming and gunshots and the sound of metal tearing ichor, tearing flesh as everything just devolves into a swirling melee. Chris, how much stress are you at?
Why?
Who's asking?
I think you've either taken 2 or you've taken 0. So I think it's okay if the writer compels you to make good on his offer.
I
To
have
come
taken
down here.
2 for your information.
And with a 9 total, he is able to use draw. Some of the creatures that are actually attacking the men around you leap onto you and claw at you and knock you off your feet and pull you down into the crater.
And I don't have recall on mine.
And he is going to use his other 2 attacks to start driving at you. That one is a 5. That one's a little bit better. That is a 10 total, actually. So you take another 2 stress. You manage to duck out of the way. Your wing kind of slips forward and pushes one of his strikes to the side, but that leaves you open for a punch directly to your solar plexus as that chitinous gauntlet digs into your gut.
Chris grunts, groans. I fucking got this.
You hear Hazel. Chris? Des? What's going on?
We're separated.
Shit. Fuck.
Hazel.
Hazel doesn't seem to be listening.
Hazel, listen to me. I'm not scared of being forgotten. I'm scared of forgetting.
You're paying attention to me, and he drives another fist into you.
Fuck you!
Whose turn is it?
Top of the round?
I believe it is top of the round, yes. The eye stares down at you from the sky. The darkness is watching. What are you doing?
Chris's brain is moving 1,000 miles an hour. She takes a second, forcibly slows things down for herself so that she can use the clarity that she needs as a captain. The smell of a court, the volleyball court, overcomes her senses, and the skittering and screeching of the monsters around her just sounds like shoes squeaking on a Wednesday afternoon. She pictures all of this in her mind's eye, and she says, Des?
Yeah?
I will prep this shot. You come here, and you deliver it with a shield check. Drop the ingredients in, take it and run.
You set me up, Chris. I'll take him down.
You got it, sugar.
We can do this.
Yes, we fucking can.
Yes, we fucking can. Des lands lightly next to Chris and gently sets Eliza down.
Chris stamps. She chooses not to stamp on the rider's foot. She lifts up a slab of stone, folded into a bucket.
Eliza tosses in the powder charge.
Des pulls one of her wings down, gestures at it, and a few of the glass feathers dislodge and break as they fall into the dumpling.
Instead of rolling it up like a dumpling this time, she grabs Dez's hand, the one that has the shield in it, and she plasters this thing to the front of the shield. Hit him!
Des takes off, shatter shot on the front of her shield, aimed at the rider. And that is a 9 on the dice, plus 3, that is a 12.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
The dice! Ah! Thank you,
The
dice
modifiers
gods!
mattered.
Modifiers fucking mattered!
Oh, goodness. So, describe to me how this shot comes in. Tell me how this shatter shot lands.
Oh man. So I've been watching all this Revolutionary Girl Utuna. There's this iconic moment in every one of the fights where it looks like she's flying, just skimming barely above the ground, sword in front of her. And I think it's kind of like that, using Dez's wings to like propel her forward. The shield with the actual shatter shot on the front of it, and so as fast as she can make it happen, she slams completely into the rider, and there's the huge explosion. Glass shrapnel sprays out in most directions. I guess if you wanted, Des could take some hits from it, but
Sure, as the explosion goes off, your shield itself shatters and shards of glass go backward into your chest. So
I love that.
Ow.
Take a point of stress.
Woo! There's my damage for the fight.
Alice out here being like, yes, XP!
I think it makes a tinier crater inside of the crater. Does a bunch of visible damage to the rider, so both of us are struggling to get to our feet after this hit.
As the dust clears, you see the rider knocked backward onto the ground, and you see a massive hole in the front of his coat. You see a hole in the front of his chest. And it is dripping with that same black ichor that has soaked his coat. And you see it start to harden and calcify into that purple armor. You're beautiful. And he is still grinning. Shrapnel has torn open part of his face, and he is still grinning as he pulls himself to his feet.
Does as she's getting to her feet, it's like, thanks, it's the HRT.
And he is going to fight Chris.
Eliza is on the ground. She's on all fours after having dropped there, and she's scrambling. Her own sword discorporated. She's grabbing for something, and then she finds it a moment ago when her outfit exploded. Her hand rests on the hilt of the rider's own sword, and with the last little bit of strength she has, she tosses it to Chris. Question. In giving Chris the sword, can I also give Chris my point of courage? Because I can't roll anymore and I won't be able to spend it.
No.
Ah.
The rider is coming for you, Chris. You have just been handed the rider's sword.
It's a fluid motion when Chris takes the sword from Eliza. She's watched hours and hours of that fencing pose, and she takes it up herself.
You hear Hazel growl in your ear. Fuck this. I am not waiting. And Faith, Hazel, what do you... And the line cuts dead. And I'm going to make the rider's first attack. That is a full success. So you take 2 harm. And the strike goes in, and you block it. But the force of the strike drives you backwards, and you can feel it start to burn in your legs as you resist this. And we see in slow motion the second shot comes in. What are you doing as time seems to slow in this moment?
Chris doesn't know people the way Jessie does, but she knows her team. She knows what Hazel's driving at. She knows that Hazel's their only chance right now. She stares the rider down. She pivots, swinging the sword upward, pirouetting around the rider and giving him a helpful kick out the door.
You're kicking him out of the gray. Oh, I should have seen that coming.
Right into Hazel's waiting arms, I hope.
I want you to give me a fight roll.
Okay.
Take decisive.
Do I get to roll place for her feet?
No, because this is not applying your normal skills.
Well, that's a 3 on the dice.
Oh.
You pivot around him. You slice open the portal. You go to kick. He twists. He grabs you. And he makes his second attack. Which misses.
Thank fuck.
Damn.
He grabs you. He lifts you. And as he does, he's distracted just long enough as there is a flash of light. And you see a figure step through the portal, gleaming, holding a sword with an edge of light, with white armor all over her form, and a visor that conceals her face. The portal begins to tear wider and wider as reality begins to unfold like a flower. And monsters of white and gold pour in behind her. And they begin to tear into the boiling darkness, ripping and clawing and howling with unnameable ferocity. And Hazel braces and looks at him and looks at you. And I think that's a good place for us to end this episode. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Thank you to my players. I hope to see you next time.
What?
Have a good night. Thank you again for joining us on this adventure. With Conviction is a production of Silver Maiden Games. If you would like to play Conviction, check out the game at silvermaidengames.itch.io. Music for the intro and outro of this podcast is A Soul with Conviction by Doom Vega, who you can find on Bandcamp. Music within the episodes is by Rachel Rose Mitchell, who you can find on Bandcamp and Spotify. All rights to the music are retained by their original artist. Production and editing are done by myself and the With Conviction cast. Thank you all. This would not be what it is without you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and YouTube or silvermaidengames.wordpress.com. You can also find more about the game, podcast, and ways to contact us at silvermaidengames.wordpress.com.